All right, Gaming and Tech is next. This week in Gaming and Tech, we got a roadmap for the Nintendo Switch 2, possibly. We have some crazy layoffs spanning the gamut of gaming and tech, as well as the hacking, retro gaming, and DIY computer community. All three are getting a pretty big update on their capabilities. So let's jump into all of that, shall we? Welcome, nerds, to the gaming and tech news for the week. This is a clip that has been taken out of the main show, The Week in Nerddom, which goes up on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. In gaming and tech, we like to talk about, well, you know, gaming and tech, trailers, announcements for new tech and games and consoles and everything in between that is gaming and or tech related. So this week in gaming and tech, all of this stuff happened. We have one follow-up this week, the Batman Arkham Trilogy, the combination game that is going to be released for the Switch has been pushed back. It is now coming out December 1st. I believe originally it was supposed to be out in November, so they're pushing it back by about a month. Though I could have been October and I'm just remembering that incorrectly. Didn't put it in the notes because I take amazing notes. Either way, that's what you got. December 1st is when you can expect to put Arkham, the Arkham Trilogy on your Switch. That's what we got for follow-ups and corrections. Let's talk now about some regular-ass news. In regular-ass news, coming out the gate with the big guns, we have the Nintendo Switch 2, or whatever the successor to the Nintendo Switch is going to be. So there's been a lot of speculation across the media as far as when this is going to be officially announced. At this point, we've all kind of come to the conclusion it's going to be sometime in 2024, though that is very much still unofficial. That is still rumor territory by and large, but we did get a little bit of hope this week because we got an interview with Shuntaro Furukawa, who is the Nintendo president in Japan. He was talking with Japanese media outlet Nikkei, and he was talking about fiscal, the plans over the next couple fiscal years. So he said very explicitly that they are supporting the hardware through the end of fiscal year 2023, which ends in March of 2024. So hardware support, he said very explicitly, is going that far. As far as software support on the Nintendo Switch, the only thing he would commit to in this interview is that software support was going to continue through fiscal year of 2024. Which ends in March of 25. So if they're not planning long term, then it seems that they're feeding into the expectations across the industry that we will in fact be getting some sort of announcement as it pertains to the successor to the Nintendo Switch from Nintendo before the end of the proper calendar year in 2024. Very likely end of, or beginning of fall, end of summer, it seems to be the most likely, as they're going to want to start ramping up announcements and potentially release it next year, though I'm not holding my breath for that. So from there, let's move on. We have some layoffs to talk about. We actually have three companies that are going across, like I said, across all of the gaming and tech stuff that is doing some layoffs. The first of which, and probably the most significant, at least this round, is Epic Games. Epic Games is changing their business strategy, at least a little bit, because this was technically been part of their business strategy up to this point. It's just now they're leaning into this and kind of foregoing other things. So we talked previously in the music section about how they've divested from Bandcamp. They are no longer the parent company for Bandcamp. Well, as part of that, they are also going to shift their focus almost exclusively, it would seem. I mean, not completely exclusively, because they still have Fall Guys and stuff, but almost exclusively, because they have canceled other projects, into Fortnite. So Fortnite, they're going to be treating as a metaverse. There's a quote here. It's as a metaverse-inspired ecosystem for creators, according to CEO Tim Sweeney over at Epic Games. So they want Fortnite to be something along the lines of metaverse, which Meta is giving us, aka Facebook, their version of that with their glasses and yeah, so this is just crazy. So because of that, because they're shifting their focus that way, and because Fortnite has not been making them as much money as it should, meaning they're spending more money on Fortnite and other projects than they are bringing in from all projects together, they're laying off 16% approximately of their workforce, which equates to roughly 830 jobs are being lost at Epic Games because they're switching their focus. I just can't get over how weird that is that they want to switch their focus over to Fortnite. Like, I mean, this could be a sign of the times. This could be, you know, these battle royale games, these free-to-play, the freemium type games are not doing as well as once hoped because people aren't restricted to their houses anymore, so they don't have endless amounts of time to just play these free-to-play games. So they want a little bit more substance with their gaming when they are sitting down to play. I just don't. This just seems like potentially a bad move. We will be keeping tabs on it though. It's going from here on because, wow. I'm gonna do this. Let's do this. I'm gonna pass this off to you guys. Who in the audience views Fortnite as a tool for creating content? Yes, I know that a lot of people do like Let's Play videos. A lot of people do stream Fortnite. That is big for streamers. But like as far as like traditional content like machinima, we'll put it that way. Does anybody make machinima inside of the world of Fortnite? So to me, that's more what content creation inside of an ecosystem looks like. Is you're telling an original story using the ecosystem as the tool through which you're telling it, right? So the red versus blue is original content created in the Halo engine. Is there any sort of like equal to that in the Fortnite ecosystem? I'm unaware. It very well could just be because I'm old, but I don't know. I'm going to hand that off to you guys. Is that an option? Is that something people are doing? Is that something people see as potential going forward? I just don't know. So let's talk about that in the comment section. From there, let's move right along. Again, more layoffs. We have Twitch laying off some employees this year. More layoffs, this time mostly affecting the customer experience department. If you remember a few months back, Amazon had rather sizable layoffs. This is just continuing the trend. Again, mostly from customer experience over on Twitch, which seems to be counterintuitive because like, isn't that like the big complaint that most creators on that platform have, is the customer experience is just subpar? I believe the official media announcement had something to do with this being because they restructured the way they function as a company and some jobs became redundant, so they just laid off the redundancies. Hopefully it pays off for them, but this, I think, is just the beginning of the end, if you will, for Twitch. They've kind of been struggling for some time, and now they're restructuring and laying people off. Seems to be like maybe Twitch is not that long for this world.
Oh, hey nerds. So, I gotta make myself useful. Now is the point in the show where you subscribe. I gotta chill for my lunch, so hit the subscribe button, tell everyone you know about the show. That way we can keep doing these things that we do to keep you informed of all that's going on across the nerddom, as it were. Yeah. So thanks, and I'll see you next time, I guess. Alright, back to the show.
And then one other round of layoffs. This time we're talking about Naughty Dog. Layoffs is a little bit of a strong term. So really what this is they're not renewing temporary contracts with approximately, what is it, like 26 different employees. 25 different contracted temp workers are not being brought back after the end of their contract. So not exactly layoffs in the traditional sense, though it does again apparently kind of show the sign of the times, because most of these contracts that are not being renewed are from the quality assurance department. So basically what they're not bringing back are the game testers, the alpha testers, the people who are going to find the bugs for them before they release a thing, which very much is a sign of the times, because even a game like, I thought for sure when Mortal Kombat 1 launched that it was going to be one of the few, like, yeah, there was going to be some bugs, but it wasn't going to be anything like really game breaking, at least not major, like no major issues. I was definitely wrong, especially considering the Switch situation, which still, from most recent accounts, plays all right. They're just missing some content by and large, and then obviously the graphical issues, which we talked about in a previous video. But I always figured, because their development cycle over at NetherRealm was so long and perceivably so thorough, that the game, when it launched, would be fairly solid, and then they would just add on top of what was already there. Most other AAA titles launch in what is by and large considered a beta state, and then they become a full and proper game the year following. There's the updates, and you get free DLC and, you know, bug fixes and so on and so forth over the course of the year. And then after a year or so, once it's launched, that's when it is a full and complete game, and then they can start to add features to what they had intended to release initially. See Halo Infinite as a prime example of that. That game launched with 4 different multiplayer modes. 4. Wow. It's we're looking at, I think, like 18 on average, 16 to 18 on average multiplayer modes now currently in that game. So that's kind of where the state of the gaming industry is. So when you don't do a lot of QA, then you don't need that much of a QA department. So that's probably, and this is totally conjecture, but that's probably why they're not bringing back more QA workers, is because we can just let the audience be the quality assurance. And that's totally a great idea, and I'm absolutely behind it 100%. No, I'm totally being facetious. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. This also, continuing on with the story, this also has factored into The Last of Us. The multiplayer game that they said that they were going to be launching soon is now indefinitely on hold. It has been put on ice, to quote a term. So we may very well not see a multiplayer Last of Us game ever because of this new direction. That seems slightly unlikely, again, because this is mostly QA. So like the actual development team is still there, but they did make the announcement that it is on ice effectively currently. So yeah, let's get to our last piece of regular ass news, because I just keep going on and on. Raspberry Pi 5, that's the big one. Raspberry Pi 5, it has been announced. I believe if you, I'm a little late to this announcement, and I apologize, because tech is just harder to keep track of for whatever reason by myself. But either way, Raspberry Pi officially was announced about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So you could get pre-orders in. Your pre-order would get you $60 is the 4 gigabyte version of the Raspberry Pi, and $80 is the 8 gigabyte version of the Raspberry Pi. So why is this significant? So Raspberry Pis, for those that don't know, are very small computers, effectively about the size of like a business card or a credit card or something along those lines. That's roughly the form factor of a Raspberry Pi. That is the entire computer. You can purchase an extra, generally they've been about $10 for Raspberry Pi inside of a case, so it's tack on $10 to that. Though this time around, it would seem that that's very likely going to increase a bit as well, because while the new processor, which I don't have the name of the company in here because they take fucking amazing notes. So the company that developed the Raspberry Pi, I'm sorry, somebody hang me out to dry in the comments, please, but they developed in-house the silicon for their processor this time, which makes it a little bit cheaper for them. And also, because it's a new processor, you got less power draw to do individual tasks, but a higher peak performance. So that's why this time the case is going to be probably a little bit more expensive, because that processor gets a bit more hot, which means it's going to require, for the first time in the history of Raspberry Pi, a cooling system. You will need to have cooling for the processor this time around. Also significant upgrades this time. There's, I think they doubled the I/O, the input-output options. So USB, you have 4 instead of 2. And you have 2 HDMI 4K 60 outs, which is pretty freaking significant, especially if you are in the retro gaming community, because yes, like you can have your game on one side and be monitoring your stats on the other, or you could run your, if you have OBS and you're running Linux, you can run your OBS screen on the other. Just the possibilities are incredibly vast at this point with the Raspberry Pi. So yeah, like I said, pre-orders have gone out. Get them while you can, because as of Raspberry Pi 4, this is becoming a bit of a hot commodity. Those pre-orders sold out really quick last time around, and then shortly thereafter they were selling for hundreds of dollars more, like $450 more if I remember one of the ones I saw listed on secondary markets and on Amazon and on eBay and so on and so forth. So if you are interested, if you have DIY computing stuff that you want to learn, or you're trying to teach or something along those lines, you have a vintage gaming collection that you're trying to keep back up, or you're trying to get into vintage gaming, or just, you know, hacking stuff, which we wouldn't ever support in public. But all of that stuff, if you are into any of that kind of thing, or anything that needs this kind of form factor for a computer, get in on the pre-orders, assuming they're still active, because it's gonna be hard to find afterwards. I think I'm done rambling for gaming and tech, so let's get into gaming and tech suggestion this week. Still Mortal Kombat 1. Actually, it goes along with our Halloween theme for suggestions for the month of October, because Mortal Kombat is kind of Halloween-y. There's a lot of costumes involved. They actually do some Halloween. They did Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos skin for Sub-Zero when it launched. I think there's one for Scorpion currently, or soon, or something along those lines. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 1, the balance has happened. The little bit that they needed post-launch, because there were some pretty big issues there, but they have, for the most part, fixed them, unless you're a Switch player, in which case, maybe take it slow. But either way, Mortal Kombat 1 is where I'm sticking this month for gaming. I'm basically exclusively there. I haven't even touched Halo for about 2 weeks. So that's your suggestion for gaming this week. Once again, this is just the gaming and tech section. It is a shortened piece of the much longer news show that I do over on youtube.com/generallynerdy, which is the main channel. There's a lot more music and comic books and movies and TV shows, etc., that can be found over there on the regular show. Thank you for joining me here, though, nerds. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.